So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez gave this interview to MSNBC. I think this was before Kevin McCarthy was actually approved as Speaker of the House. Let's listen to it and then we'll react.
It did not go unnoticed, shall we say, on the internet and elsewhere, that you were on the floor having some conversations with Republicans, including Matt Gaetz and Paul Gosar. Can you enlighten us at all as to what those conversations were like? And is there any hope that you guys work together to get Hakeem Jeffries elected as Speaker of the House?
You know, I think in chaos, anything is possible, especially in this era. You know, it is unlikely, but there's always a possibility. I do think that in terms of some of those conversations, I mean, listen, some of us in the House of Representatives are independent in certain ways from our party. And I do believe that in some of those conversations, there are things that are happening on the floor. These machinations are happening on the floor. And sometimes the leadership of your party, in this case, the Republican Party, will be making claims in order to try to twist arms and get people in line. And a lot of times, information and truth is currency. So sometimes to be able to fact check some of the claims that McCarthy is making, whether Democrats are going to defect or not, etc.
So in other words, just to explain what she's saying there, McCarthy at some point was trying to tell them, like, hey, you guys can object if you want to, but you know what? I got the votes. I got some Democrats to cross the aisle. They're going to vote for me. They're going to get me across the finish line because whoever you guys would put up for speaker would be more extreme. They know that, so they're going to support me because they think I'm more moderate. And so you guys can object if you want to, but it's going to come back to haunt you. It's going to hurt you. So he's probably trying to bluff them into supporting him at one point. And so Matt Gaetz and Paul Gosar probably reached out to AOC and were like, is this true? Is this accurate? And AOC clearly told them, like, no, that's not accurate. So she was giving them information and they were able to act upon that information. I can't help but, and I'm just guessing here, but I can't help, it looks like she enjoys this aspect of being in Congress. Because this is all very like high schoolish, you know what I mean? Like the little cliques and the factions that pop up and like, there's like drama around this, and she strikes me as she actually enjoys this part of it. Like, you know, doing the whole gossiping about other Congress people behind other Congress people's backs and, you know, getting into like the dirty insular insider stuff around it. It strikes me that she actually enjoys that.
etc. is important in order to keep him honest and to keep people honest in general. And so, you know, I think what was important today was to send the message that we were united behind Hakeem Jeffries as the now minority leader or as leader of the Democrats, and that there would be no defections, that Democrats are here, we're not going anywhere. And if they want to play ball, we're open to that. That's going to make a lot of people, I think, on one side of the aisle very happy and a lot of people on the other side of the aisle very concerned.
So in other words, I think what she's saying there, if they want to play ball, we're open to that. She's saying if these people who were defecting from Kevin McCarthy, if they want to help elect Hakeem Jeffries, hey, we'll play ball with that. She may even be asserting if these defectors want to pick a less insane Republican, we're open to maybe that too, although I don't think that wouldn't have been nearly as likely as them trying to get Hakeem Jeffries speaker. But those people were never going to support Hakeem Jeffries, obviously. And the real question is, why did you support Hakeem Jeffries? And she bragged there about like, hey, but you know, it's important to show us Democrats are united. But why? Why are you united? Why are you united? Now, to steel man their argument, she would make the case that, okay, Pelosi's now gone. She had a tumultuous relationship with Pelosi, although she usually ended up bending the knee. But with Hakeem Jeffries, hey, it's a fresh slate. Maybe she has like a personal relationship with him where she doesn't feel like he's as anti her and anti the squad as Pelosi was. So maybe she feels like, oh, he might actually be willing to work with us. He's been nice to me in person. So to steel man her case, she thinks, if we unite behind him and we support him, maybe that favor will be returned and he'll remember that we were there for him all along. There were never any cracks in the foundation, and then he'll end up giving us some of the stuff we want, whether it's committee assignments or whether it's I mean, they don't have that now, obviously, they're the minority, but some sort of legislation that they eventually want to bring up to the floor when the Democrats are in the majority again. So this is how they rationalize it, how they justify it. Hey, this is a fresh slate. This is not Nancy Pelosi. And let's go along to get along. Let's go with the crowd, and then in going with the crowd, we get treated as equals, we get treated as peers, and then in the same way that there's tit-for-tat horse trading from within the club, now we're part of the club, and so we can do the tit-for-tat horse trading. If I was Steelmanning her case, that's the argument I would make. But here's the problem with that. Hakeem Jeffries is just like Nancy Pelosi, if not worse. He's the ultimate insider. He's the ultimate establishment Democrat, corporate Democrat. From the quotes of him that I've seen, he genuinely despises the left. Even if AOC says, "Oh yeah, no, he was nice to me in person," that doesn't matter to me at all. That doesn't matter at all. In terms of what you're supposed to stand for, he despises it. He despises you. He despises even social democracy. Hates it. He is a neoliberal corporatist through and through. And so he ain't gonna give you shit. He ain't gonna give you shit. Ever. It's not happening. And so this is the problem, and this is the thing that we've been saying for years and years and years now, is that the only hope that the left ever has to get anything accomplished is to effectively copy the Tea Party tactics. Now what looks more like the Gates tactics in the current era, which is your power, to the extent that the left has any power, that is derived from the base that gets them elected. That is derived from the fact that people support a $15 minimum wage. People support Medicare for all. People support free college. People support eliminating student loan debt. People support ending the wars. People support raising taxes on the wealthy. All of your power is derived from populist politics, which appeals to the people, which gets them on your side if you're a crusader for them. And for the left to sort of disarm and go along to get along, you're giving away the one move you have, which is the power of the people. Because now you're just playing that insider game. And I would submit to them, if what you were doing was going to work, then there should be something to show for it by now. Because under Pelosi, this is all you guys tried, right? Like, we'll play the game, we'll get in there, I'll get on her good side, and we'll get more for the people by doing that. By not pissing her off too much, because she has a million ways to retaliate against us. We need to make sure she can't retaliate against us, so we'll play it from the inside. If that was going to work, there would already be a tremendous amount to show for it. And frankly, there's not. There's nothing to show for it. And so what do you have to lose, right? What do you have to lose by acting like the Tea Party? If you get a group of, or if you had a group of, let's say, 15 left-flank Democrats that were willing to throw their weight around, yeah, maybe you could have gotten some concessions. In the same way that Gates got all these things on paper, maybe you could have gotten a bunch of things on paper. Votes on certain policies, whether it be Medicare for all, $15 minimum wage, whatever, you fill in the blank with it. The committee positions, which gives you a tremendous amount of power because that's where the policy is crafted. Elimination of PAYGO is another example. Like, maybe you could have gotten more going that path. We'll never know because you didn't even try. And I think that's the frustration of people on the left, is that, sure, you're united, and that might, from a bird's eye view, that might look appealing to people because they think, oh, yeah, look how together the Democrats are. These people are serious and they know how to govern. That might be like, that's like the layman's perspective, but for people who follow politics day in and day out and are political junkies, we know that means they're united around an agenda which is not a real change agenda, that is not going to bring substantive change. And so I think people always wanted that firebrand stuff from her, and we didn't get it. And look, it is very possible, let's say she did take my advice, and they did take my advice, and there was a group of 12 or 15 Democrats who were willing to throw their weight around and make demands and even tell Joe Biden, we're blocking every piece of legislation until you eliminate all student loan debt through executive order. Something, right? It's very possible if they tried that, then Pelosi and Biden and leadership had more ways to get back at them than they did to fight them, and so they sort of sidelined them and crushed them and sort of snuffed out the opposition. That's possible, but at least in that instance, at least you fucking tried, right? And everybody's still with you, and everybody sees what happened. Because again, your power is always going to be derived from the people. So you have your own bully pulpit in a way. you can go to them and say, here's how Pelosi screwed me over. Here's how Biden screwed me over. Here's what we need to do to get back at them. I need you to get involved. I need you to help. I need you to call their office. I need bodies in the streets, etc. So I think the lack of the fight, the lack of the trying is the real problem. Because again, I'm not saying my approach, my like Tea Party copycat approach for the left, I'm not saying it's guaranteed to work. I'm just saying it's a much higher likelihood for it to work than what we've seen for the past however many decades. I mean, we haven't had a fighting left flank since maybe the FDR days or the Lyndon B. Johnson days at the latest, right? So it's the go along to get along, which never gives us any results, that I think people are so furious with and so frustrated by. And the final point I'll make is this. On the right, what do you have? You have people who are willing to burn it all down. You have people who are willing to fight. You have people who are willing to demand concessions from Republican leadership. But the difference is on the right, the things they're actually fighting for are not populist, they're not anti-establishment, they're even more pro-establishment positions than the establishment Republicans. You know, this fight with Matt Gaetz and the stuff that they're asking for. I mean, they want like balanced budget stuff, which would tank the U.S. economy. They want cuts to Social Security and Medicare. You know, they want to do a fight over the debt ceiling, which again could absolutely destroy the economy and full faith and credit of the U.S. government. So like, they're doing the populist posture while not doing populist politics. But like, I just wish that that strategy is used by the left and you make actual good asks, because that would be good to like reinvigorate the left and give us something to coalesce around. Give us something to come together over, where, you know, like, you know who the quote unquote enemies are. Of course, the corporate Republicans are guaranteed to be enemies, but you know, if you throw around your weight and force the corporate Democrats to do certain things, maybe it will work to some extent. Maybe it will get some percentage of the things that we've always been talking about. But again, even if you don't, at least you tried. Because in this instance, you're not trying and you're not getting anything. And it's just like, okay, congrats. You're just a creature of Washington now. And you're just a supporter of Hakeem Jeffries now, who I guarantee you is never going to return any favors, right? So, and the best evidence of this, and final point, best evidence of this is Pramila Jayapal. Pramila Jayapal played the game with Pelosi, did many things to appease her, did many things to get her support and her adoration, screwed over the left time and time again, and she genuinely thought, when it comes time, I'm going to be her replacement as speaker. I'm going to be her replacement as leader of the Democrats. And she wasn't even in consideration. It was always going to be Hakeem Jeffries. So she embarrassed herself repeatedly and has nothing to show for it. Nothing. So if that doesn't tell you, maybe you should fight more. Maybe you should be more oppositional. Maybe you should throw your weight around more. Maybe you should make more demands. Then I don't know what will. I don't know what will. And, you know, I don't blame people at some point for saying, well, it's kind of a lost cause type stuff. Hard to disagree. You know, that's not to say that AOC is equal to, you know, whatever, fill in the blank with some Paul Gosar or whatever insane Republican who's going to vote wrong 100% of the time. She would vote right probably over 90% of the time. But again, the problem is not in the votes you cast on the issues that come up. The problem is which issues actually do come up, because we want you to have more control over that and pick the things that actually matter to people, right? So anyway, there you have it. I wish they weren't united. I wish they did do their own fight. But now, and I hate to do this conclusion, it looks like they're even less likely to ever fight like this. Why? Because the media is portraying the chaos on the right as just that, chaos, and saying, oh, look, these people all look like fucking idiots. And so I think that makes Democrats on the left flank even less likely to fight. So like, oh, when we're up, let's definitely not do that. And it's like, no change is going to come without you willing to be, pariahs of the media. No change ever is going to come without you willing to be pariahs. And they're just not willing to do that. They're not willing to be pariahs against their party leadership. They're not willing to be pariahs against the media. So here we are at square one, where instead of getting real change, we get pocket change. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.